You outline what's different sort of in the consumer side of things and the transaction. But what's different for the real estate agent? So if I'm a real estate agent, why would I want to work with someone who's an attorney? Like, what are some of the things that perhaps working with an attorney managed title company will help me avoid or not fall into?
Well, I mean, obviously unlicensed practice, but what a real estate agent is allowed to do is to take that form, whether it's the as is or the standard contract, and fill in the blanks. There's some, almost like gotcha traps within the contract that, there's a space for additional terms. There's addendums that can be written, things that will modify, expand, or limit one of the parties' rights. And a real estate agent really can't do that. Because if you put yourself out there and you draft an addendum that you think communicates what you want, and it either invalidates a contract, limits somebody's rights, or makes something unenforceable, you've then put yourself and your brokerage potentially on the hook for liability, whether it's negligence or, some exposure that you have that you don't necessarily need to expose yourself to. So if there is no attorney on the transaction, you shouldn't be drafting. Real estate agents can't draft addendums. They can't change terms within the contract. They can't necessarily cross things out. Having the attorney oversight on that transaction when it's with an attorney managed title company, if an issue comes up or something needs to be changed or something's discovered in an inspection and they want to move forward and an addendum needs to be written, having the attorney involvement, we can advise on that. We can advise the parties as to what the rights and obligations are created, and we can actually draft that addendum. So that helps the real estate agent that way. Also giving some advice on how to take title to the property. There's a lot of different types of deeds. There is carve-outs by statute that title companies can prepare the documents that you need incident to that issuing that title insurance policy, but they can't really advise you on how to take title. They can't really explain whether you need a quit claim or a warranty or a special warranty deed or a trustee's deed or a personal representative deed. Those are all things, how you take title to the property, how you structure, whether it's joint tenants by the entireties, they can have impact on probate. They can have impact on tax liability. They can have impact on homestead laws. Those are all things that, while they can create the documents, a title company really can't advise on, and an attorney can.
And so so when you said it, it almost like hit me. You say an attorney, a title company can't be giving advice on manners of title. But what happens if I see a title, like I've seen title companies give classes in how to take title. Can someone do that? That's not, it seems to me.
It's unlicensed practice of law. Okay. You can't. An attorney can. You can share legal information. You can't give legal advice. So you can say, this is the definition of all these different types of deeds. This is the definition of what this is. But you can't really advise on what that means for anybody or how you should do it, because that's advice. So legal information is one thing, and that's one definition, but legal advice and how you interpret things is something totally different. So you can go over, this is what the contract says, but you can't say what it means.
Of course. And so that covers one side of the coin. And so the other side of the coin, which is the thing that sort of the trends that keep popping up in our market that are a little bit more troubling is, so I had Carlos with Equitable Title, and, he's not an attorney. I'm not an attorney. Mm-hmm. So we briefly talked about some RESPA stuff. So you're not supposed to accept a thing of value, and, sort of like the base definition of it. But we sort of stopped at that. But what ended up happening is I got a ton of feedback from that and saying, well, do you think this is going to be a violation of RESPA? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not an attorney, but how about I talk about that with an attorney? Because the other thing that real estate agents not are fully aware of is how their involvement in some of these things that sometimes are innocent or not ill-intended can affect them. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, yes, because there's an intersection, and it happens with I mean, the title insurance laws and RESPA, some of them conflict a little bit as to what can a title company do? What can an attorney do? What is okay for real estate agents? And I think we talked about it a little bit. The most important thing is to be educated on it. And I know it's not always readily available. It's not always out there. Not all the brokers are talking about it. And that's why we kind of, when we structured everything with Champion and we have people that market, is really educate on what we can and cannot do. You mentioned thing of value. There are certain things you can work with realtors. You can market your services. If you are going to an open house with a realtor, or you're, helping provide food, or you have a gift card that you need to be there as, it's Champion Title and Closing, and I'm there physically present with my information, promoting my services. And it can't be tied to whether you get that deal or not. It's not tied to referrals. It's not an inducement. That's what you really want. Like, am I being induced to do business with somebody? Because that's really what RESPA was designed for. I mean, it's been around for 40 something years. It was designed because these add-on services were jacking up the fees that people were paying for their settlement services. So the thing of value comes into it. It's, what's okay, what's not. What somebody does for you can't defray a cost you would normally incur. So a title company or an attorney or somebody can't say, hey, if you give me this deal, I'm going to pay for your listing photos, or I'll buy a bunch of leads and you can come work these leads that I'm providing for you, because that's a cost that they would have incurred that they've now not, because somebody else has paid for it. Now, if they want to give you a space and say, hey, bring your leads that you've bought and we can all call or whatever and I'll have pizza, that's fine. But they can't provide those for you. They can't make videos for you. They can't shoot your listing photos for you. You have to absorb those costs that you would normally incur.